For decades, military personnel worldwide have witnessed phenomena that defy conventional explanation. These aren't conspiracy theories or tabloid stories. These are official, documented encounters investigated by governments, recorded on radar, and witnessed by trained pilots and military experts. Today, we're examining 8 declassified UFO encounters that remain unexplained. These cases involve multiple witnesses, technological evidence, and official documentation. From the skies above the Pacific Ocean to the forests of England, these incidents changed how governments approach unidentified aerial phenomena. What makes these cases extraordinary isn't just what was seen, but who saw them and how they were documented. These are stories that the military took seriously, investigated thoroughly, and in many cases still cannot explain. Let's begin with the most famous modern military UFO encounter. On November 14, 2004, approximately 100 miles off the coast of San Diego, the USS Nimitz carrier strike group was conducting routine training exercises. What happened over the next several days would become one of the most credible UFO cases in modern history. The USS Princeton, a guided missile cruiser equipped with advanced SPY-1 radar systems, had been tracking anomalous aerial vehicles for several days. These objects appeared suddenly at 80,000 feet, descended rapidly to just above sea level, hovered, and then shot back to high altitude in seconds. The radar operators were baffled. These movements violated everything they knew about conventional aircraft. On that fateful November afternoon, 2 FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jets were scrambled to investigate. Commander David Fravor, a veteran pilot with 18 years of experience, was leading the intercept mission. What he encountered would change his perspective forever. Fravor reported seeing a white oblong object about 40 feet long, shaped like a giant Tic Tac candy. The craft had no visible wings, no exhaust plumes, and no apparent means of propulsion. It was hovering just above a disturbance in the ocean water, creating a cross-shaped white water pattern about 50 to 100 meters in diameter. When Fravor attempted to approach the object, it reacted. The craft mirrored his movements, demonstrating awareness of his presence. Then, in an instant, it accelerated away at impossible speeds. Fravor described it as disappearing, as if it had simply been erased from the sky. But the encounter wasn't over. The object reappeared 60 miles away at the carrier group's pre-arranged training point within seconds. This meant the craft had traveled 60 miles almost instantaneously, while somehow knowing the exact coordinates of their classified training location. A second flight of FA-18s was launched, this time equipped with advanced targeting pods. Lieutenant Commander Chad Underwood successfully captured infrared video of the object. This footage, later declassified by the Pentagon, shows the craft rotating and moving in ways that seem to defy the laws of physics. Physics professor Kevin Newth analyzed the Tic Tac data and published findings that revealed shocking performance capabilities. The object demonstrated acceleration forces that would be fatal to any human pilot. It moved without creating sonic booms despite traveling at supersonic speeds. Most troubling, it appeared to be under intelligent control. Multiple witnesses aboard the USS Princeton reported something even stranger. After the encounters, several crew members claimed they were visited by unknown individuals who confiscated equipment and instructed them not to discuss what they had seen. Security footage and radar data mysteriously disappeared. The Pentagon officially confirmed the authenticity of the videos in 2020, stating they depicted unidentified aerial phenomena. To this day, no conventional explanation has been provided for what the Nimitz strike group encountered in 2004, Just after midnight on December 26, 1980, security personnel at Royal Air Force Woodbridge in Suffolk, England, noticed unusual lights descending into nearby Rendlesham Forest. What began as a suspected aircraft crash would evolve into the most documented military UFO encounter in British history. Two USAF bases, Bentwaters and Woodbridge, were operating in the area. Both were NATO facilities housing sensitive equipment and, according to some reports, nuclear weapons. When strange lights appeared in the forest between the bases, military personnel were immediately dispatched to investigate. Sergeant Jim Peniston led the initial investigation team. As they approached through the dense woodland, they expected to find a downed aircraft. What they encountered was something entirely different. Peniston reported seeing a triangular craft, approximately 9 feet across and 6 feet high, resting on 3 landing legs. The object emitted bright white light with pulsing red and blue illuminations. Most remarkably, the craft appeared to be covered in strange symbols, resembling hieroglyphics, etched into its metallic surface. Against protocol, Peniston approached the object and touched it. He described the surface as smooth, like glass, but warm to the touch. As he made contact, he reported experiencing a download of binary code directly into his mind, a claim that would be verified years later when he reproduced the code from memory. The craft suddenly retracted its landing gear and maneuvered through the trees with impossible agility. It then shot upward, illuminating the entire forest before disappearing into the night sky. The encounter lasted approximately 45 minutes. Though Peniston and his team experienced missing time, their watches running 45 minutes slow. Physical evidence was discovered at the landing site. 3 triangular depressions were found in the ground, forming a perfect triangle. Radiation readings at the site were significantly elevated, 7 times higher than background levels. Trees showed burn marks and broken branches at specific heights, corresponding to the reported craft dimensions. 2 nights later, on December 28th, Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt led another investigation team into the forest. Halt brought a tape recorder, creating one of the most valuable pieces of evidence in UFO history. The audio recording captures Halt and his team encountering the phenomena in real time. On the tape, you can hear their confusion and amazement as they observe multiple lights in the forest and sky. Halt describes seeing a red oval object with a black center, resembling an eye, that appeared to be dripping molten metal. Most dramatically, the recording captures their observation of a beam of light coming from one of the objects, directed toward the ground near the weapons storage area. This detail is particularly concerning given the strategic importance of the base. Multiple military personnel witnessed the events from various vantage points, including the control towers at both bases. Some reported seeing craft firing light beams toward the ground. Others described objects that seemed to respond intelligently to attempts at communication. The British Ministry of Defense investigated the incident, but publicly stated it posed no threat to national security. However, declassified documents reveal the MOD took the case much more seriously than they admitted. Files show extensive investigations and radar tracking of unknown objects in the area. One witness, Airman John Burroughs, later fought a legal battle to obtain his military medical records. After years of denials, the U.S. government acknowledged that Burroughs had been exposed to an unknown form of radiation during the encounter, lending credibility to the physical effects reported by witnesses. The Rendlesham Forest incident remains Britain's most compelling UFO case. With multiple military witnesses, physical evidence, official documentation, and audio recordings made during the encounter, It represents one of the best documented UFO cases in history. Yet, over 40 years later, no conventional explanation has adequately accounted for what occurred in those woods. In the early morning hours of September 19, 1976, multiple residents of Tehran contacted authorities to report a brilliant object hovering in the sky. The light was so intense that witnesses described it as extraordinarily bright, visible despite the darkness. The Air Force, concerned about potential airspace activity during a tense period, sent an F-4 Phantom II fighter jet from a local airbase to investigate. What happened next would be documented in a Defense Intelligence Agency report that remains one of the most credible military UFO encounters on record. As the first F-4 approached the object, something extraordinary occurred. All instrumentation and communication systems suddenly failed. The pilot lost radio contact, his instruments stopped functioning, and he found himself unable to navigate properly. However, when he turned away from the object, all systems immediately returned to normal operation. A second F-4 was sent to investigate. This pilot, Lieutenant Parvez Jafari, managed to get closer to the object. He described it as having intensely bright multicolored lights arranged in a rectangular pattern, flashing in sequence so rapidly they appeared almost blinding. As Jafari approached within 25 nautical miles, a smaller object separated from the main craft and moved directly toward his fighter jet at high speed. When Jafari attempted to respond, his control systems went completely inactive. The equipment was completely non-responsive. Jafari performed evasive maneuvers to create distance from the approaching object. The smaller craft followed him through his maneuvers, then departed and returned to the main object, rejoining it seamlessly. As Jafari's systems returned to normal, another small object separated from the main craft, but this time it descended rapidly toward the ground. Both pilots observed as it appeared to land or hover in an area south of Tehran, illuminating approximately a 2 to 3 kilometer area with brilliant light. The main object then demonstrated capabilities that defied conventional physics. It accelerated to speeds that the pilots estimated at several thousand miles per hour, departing the area in seconds. Tehran's radar tracked the object throughout the encounter, confirming its presence and remarkable speed. The following morning, the F-4 crews and military officers investigated the location where the smaller object had descended. They found a small, dry lake bed with a circular area that appeared different from the surrounding terrain, though no physical craft was discovered. What makes this incident so significant is the documented electromagnetic interference with military aircraft. Both F-4 Phantoms experienced complete systems failures when approaching the object, only to have systems restored when withdrawing. This pattern suggests the object was responding intelligently to the aircraft's presence. The U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency compiled a detailed 4-page report on the incident, with a distribution list that included high-level government offices. The report classified it as one that meets all the criteria necessary for a valid study of the phenomenon. Lieutenant Jafari, who later became a general, has stated publicly that he believed the object demonstrated technology beyond conventional aircraft, based on its capabilities and behavior. The government has never provided an explanation for what occurred that night. The incident remains one of the most well-documented cases of an unidentified object demonstrating technological capabilities beyond known aircraft. Between November 1989 and April 1990, Belgium experienced a wave of UFO sightings that would involve thousands of witnesses and result in one of the most extensive official military investigations in European history. The sightings began on November 29, 1989. when multiple witnesses across Belgium reported seeing large, silent, triangular craft with bright lights at each corner. The objects moved slowly, sometimes hovering for extended periods, and were described as massive, with some witnesses estimating them to be as large as a football field. What distinguished the Belgian wave from other mass sightings was the response of the Belgian military. Rather than dismissing the reports, the Belgian Air Force took them seriously and launched an official investigation. They worked closely with civilian UFO researchers, sharing information in an unprecedented display of transparency. On the night of March 30th to 31st, 1990, the situation escalated. Belgian Air Force radar detected an unidentified target moving at unusual speeds and displaying erratic flight patterns. Ground witnesses reported seeing the triangular craft. The Belgian Air Force scrambled two F-16 fighters to intercept. The F-16 pilots established radar lock on the unidentified target multiple times. However, the object demonstrated capabilities that seemed impossible. When locked onto by fighter radar, it would suddenly accelerate from approximately 150 miles per hour to over 1,000 miles per hour in seconds, dropping from 10,000 feet to surface level almost instantaneously. The pilots reported that the object's acceleration would subject any human pilot to forces exceeding 40 Gs, far beyond what the human body can withstand. Major General Wilfried de Brouwer, Chief of Operations of the Belgian Air Force at the time, publicly confirmed the incidents and stated that the objects displayed flight characteristics unlike any known aircraft. He emphasized that the radar returns and pilot reports were credible and unexplained. Skeptics have proposed various explanations, including misidentification of conventional aircraft or helicopters. However, these explanations struggle to account for the radar tracking, the coordinated movements, and the extreme performance characteristics documented by military equipment. The Belgian government released its files on the wave, including radar data and pilot reports. To this day, no official explanation has been provided for the core incidents, particularly the radar-confirmed F-16 encounters. On November 17, 1986, Japan Airlines cargo flight 1628 was cruising at 35,000 feet over Alaska. Captain Kenju Terauchi, a veteran pilot, was at the controls. What happened next would be confirmed by multiple radar systems and investigated by the Federal Aviation Administration. At approximately 5 p.m. local time, the crew noticed unusual lights keeping pace with their Boeing 747. Captain Terauchi reported seeing two smaller craft positioned in front of the jet, emitting such intense light that he felt warmth on his face. Then, an enormous craft appeared, which he estimated to be as large as 2 aircraft carriers. The encounter lasted for nearly 50 minutes as the objects followed the 747 across hundreds of miles. What makes this case exceptionally credible is the radar confirmation. The 747's own weather radar, FAA ground radar, and military radar at Elmendorf Air Force Base all registered an unidentified target near Flight 1628. FAA Division Chief John Callahan later went public, stating he organized a briefing for the FBI, CIA, and Reagan administration officials. According to Callahan, after reviewing the evidence, attendees were told the incident never happened. Captain Terauchi was initially grounded for discussing the incident. The FAA's official stance became that the radar returns were a split-image anomaly, but this fails to explain the visual sightings and multiple independent radar confirmations from experienced pilots. In 1977, the remote Brazilian island of Colares, became the center of one of the most extensively documented UFO investigations ever conducted. The island's residents reported frequent encounters with unusual aerial lights that appeared to interact with the community over several months. Residents of Colares reported seeing lights in the sky that displayed intelligent behavior. These observations were so frequent that the community organized nighttime watch groups. People gathered together after sunset, lighting fires and using various methods to signal to each other when objects were spotted. Local medical professionals documented cases of residents seeking treatment after encounters with the lights. Patients reported various symptoms including skin marks, feelings of weakness, dizziness, and headaches. The consistency of symptoms across multiple individuals suggested a common environmental factor. The situation prompted the mayor of Colares to request assistance from the Brazilian Air Force. In response, the military launched Operation Saucer, commanded by Captain Joran Hollanda. This represented the first operation conducted by the Brazilian Air Force, specifically to investigate aerial phenomena. Captain Hollanda and his team spent 4 months on Colares, interviewing witnesses, investigating reported landing sites, and attempting to document the objects. The team captured over 500 photographs and 16mm film of lights in the sky. They documented witness testimony, mapped sighting locations, and analyzed physical evidence at various sites. The military investigation concluded that the phenomena were real and demonstrated patterns suggesting intelligent control. Official reports noted that the objects appeared to respond to human presence, maintaining distance when approached, and showing awareness of observation attempts. Years later, in 1997, Captain Hollanda gave an extensive interview about Operation Saucer. He confirmed that the team had successfully photographed the objects and that he personally had observed the craft on multiple occasions. He described them as appearing in various shapes, including disc-shaped and rectangular configurations. Hollanda stated that he believed the objects represented unknown technology and that the Brazilian government possessed extensive documentation supporting these observations. He indicated that the investigation had gathered far more data than had been made public. The Brazilian government classified the Operation Saucer files for decades. When they were finally declassified in the late 1990s, they revealed extensive documentation of the incidents, including photographs, witness statements, and military analysis. Researchers note that some materials from the investigation remain classified. The Colares investigation stands out because of its official military nature and the comprehensive documentation produced. This wasn't anecdotal evidence or disputed testimony. This was a months-long scientific investigation by trained military personnel using photographic equipment and systematic methodology. The released files show detailed sketches, analysis of landing sites, medical reports, and witness interviews conducted under official military protocols. The scale and professionalism of Operation Saucer makes it one of the most important government UFO investigations in South American history. To this day, the Colares case is studied by researchers for its methodical approach and extensive documentation. The community's experience and the military's response represent a unique chapter in UFO research where a government took citizens' concerns seriously and conducted a thorough investigation. On April 6, 1966, in the Melbourne suburb of Westall, over 200 students and teachers at Westall High School witnessed an event that would change their lives. What makes this case extraordinary is not just the number of witnesses, but their age and independence from one another. At approximately 11 a.m. during morning recess, students and staff observed a silver-gray disc-shaped object descending toward a grassy field known as the Grange, located just beyond the school grounds. The object was described as about the size of 2 family cars, with a metallic appearance that glinted in the sunlight. Dozens of students ran toward the fence to get a closer look. Some jumped the barrier and raced into the field toward the object. Witnesses reported that the craft either landed or hovered extremely close to the ground for several minutes. It appeared solid and physical, not a light or atmospheric phenomenon. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the object began to rise. It ascended rapidly, performing maneuvers that witnesses described as impossible for conventional aircraft. The craft was reportedly pursued by multiple light aircraft, possibly including military planes, which arrived shortly after the object's appearance. What makes the Westall incident particularly compelling is the consistency of witness testimony. Despite being questioned separately and independently, students and teachers provided remarkably similar descriptions of what they had observed. The craft's appearance, behavior, and flight characteristics matched across dozens of accounts. Physical evidence was reported at the landing site. Students who reached the area described finding a circular area of flattened grass with a distinct pattern. Some reported the grass appeared burned or scorched in a specific circular shape, consistent with a large object having landed or hovered there. However, when investigators attempted to examine the landing site the following day, the area had been cordoned off. Witnesses reported seeing military personnel and men in suits at the location. The grass in the affected area had been removed, along with any potential physical evidence. Multiple students reported being questioned by men who identified themselves as military or government officials. These individuals reportedly instructed witnesses not to discuss what they had seen. Some students claimed they were threatened with consequences if they spoke about the incident. Teachers at the school were allegedly told to suppress discussion of the event. When the media arrived to investigate, school administrators reportedly downplayed the incident and discouraged witnesses from speaking to journalists. This apparent suppression of information only fueled speculation about what had really occurred. Despite the official silence, the Westall incident became a significant event in Australian UFO history. The sheer number of young witnesses, many of whom had no prior interest in UFOs, lends considerable credibility to the case. Children generally make poor conspirators, and the consistency of their accounts across decades is notable. In recent years, documentaries have revisited the Westall incident, interviewing witnesses who are now adults. Many have maintained their stories consistently for over 50 years, describing the event with remarkable clarity and insisting on what they saw that day. Some witnesses report lasting effects from coming forward. Several described being ridiculed, disbelieved, or socially ostracized for discussing their experience. This has contributed to decades of silence from some witnesses who only recently felt comfortable sharing their stories. The Australian government has never provided an official explanation for the Westall incident. Various theories have been proposed, including experimental military aircraft, weather balloons, or mass hallucination. However, none of these explanations adequately account for the physical evidence, multiple independent witnesses, and the apparent official response to the event. The Westall incident represents one of the largest mass UFO sightings in history, particularly remarkable for involving school children who had no apparent reason to fabricate such a story. After more than 5 decades, the case remains unexplained. On the evening of March 13, 1997, thousands of people across Arizona and Nevada witnessed one of the largest mass UFO sightings in modern history. The Phoenix Lights, as they came to be known, would be observed by witnesses ranging from civilians to law enforcement to the state governor himself. The phenomenon occurred in two distinct phases. The first involved a massive V-shaped formation of lights passing over the state between approximately 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. Witnesses described seeing a craft of enormous proportions, with some estimating it to be over a mile wide. The object moved silently across the sky, traveling from the Nevada border through Phoenix and toward Tucson. Multiple witnesses described it not as separate lights, but as a solid, structured craft blocking out the stars as it passed overhead. The lights appeared to be attached to something physical and massive. One of the most credible witnesses was Arizona Governor Fife Sim, and those are just a few of the declassified encounters that have left the U.S. military scratching their heads. What do you think is behind these strange sightings? Let us know your theories in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the unknown. If you did, please consider giving this video a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world's greatest mysteries. Ring that notification bell so you never miss an update from us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.